Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be diving into the Konoha 13. There's a lot of conversation in the community about who is stronger and where everybody ranks, so in this video we will be ranking and explaining each of the Konoha 13 members. While I may mention some scaled characters and abilities, I'm not really considering them for this video as far as rankings are concerned. It's really for the most part stuff that we know is true from canon, like light novels, the shows, and the last specifically as far as movies are concerned. I shouldn't really have to say this, but spoilers ahead if you are actively watching the show or haven't caught up or haven't seen it yet and are thinking about watching it. This is probably not the video for you. So be sure to like and subscribe for more anime content, but enough of that, let's get started. First, we are going to kick things off at number 13 with Tenten, the weapons queen. Tenten may not be the strongest member of this group, but she does have some really cool abilities, a ton of energy, and an entire arsenal at her disposal. Unfortunately, her accuracy leaves quite a bit to be desired. Tenten is one of the original Konoha 13, back when it was still Konoha 12 before Sasuke abandoned everybody to go cry for a bunch of years, and is a proud member of Team God. Ever since Tenten was a kid, she had always idolized other powerful ninjas like Lady Tsunade and her role in the legendary Sannin. She always had a dream of becoming a kunoichi powerhouse, and although she never quite reached the heights of Lady Tsunade's power, she managed to become a ninja who could hold her own and became an important member of the Leaf Village in her own right. Tenten specializes in Fuinjutsu, summoning scrolls and bombarding enemies with absolutely as many weapons as possible, whether it be kunai, shuriken, or giant iron balls of doom. While her ultimate move, the Twin Rising Dragons, is super flashy, it rarely ever finishes the job. If we scaled Tenten up and increased her chakra reserves, then her power level could change dramatically. Part of her ability is to be able to pick up and pretty much master any weapon almost instantly. This includes legendary weapons, so theoretically she could just collect a bunch of legendary ninja weapons and keep them in a scroll and use them whenever she'd like. However, even though Tenten's ability is cool and would theoretically allow her to do that, she herself just lacks the raw power and chakra reserves or taijutsu ability to match any of her peers or maintain using most of these higher level weapons. She can be quite helpful in long range fights by distracting enemies by throwing weapons at them, but good luck if anybody gets close. Sadly, in a village full of monsters, Tenten just doesn't bring enough to the table to make it any higher than last on this list. Next up, we are going to Konoha's resident flower queen herself, Ino Yamanaka. She's confident and she's also wildly underwhelming in combat. Ino's part of the Ino Shikacho trio, so teamwork has been part of her life since before she was even born. She starts as Sakura's childhood best friend turned rival due to their shared obsession with Sasuke, but credit where it's due, Ino ultimately becomes a reasonably strong ninja, healer, and team leader. Her family's signature mind transfer jutsu is a double-edged sword. While it's super useful for intel gathering, possession, and teamwork, if you miss, then you're kinda just stuck sitting there unable to control your body, and you become a sitting duck for enemies. By the Boruto era, Ino gets much better with her sensory ability, telepathic communication, and support abilities. Ino's niche abilities make her valuable in group fights and intel missions as long as she is fighting with people like Choji and Shikamaru who understand how her ability works and whose abilities directly supplement the weaknesses of her own. However, fighting solo or fighting in a group who doesn't understand her abilities, she's pretty much just completely vulnerable all the time and doesn't really have much else she can rely on as far as taijutsu or ninjutsu ability to keep herself safe in battle. Number 11 is the wild child himself, Kiba. Plus Akamichi, of course. Kiba is a member of Team Kurenai and comes from the Inuzuka clan, which is a clan known for their use of ninja dogs. Ever since he was a kid, Kiba and Akamichi have been not only best friends, but loyal combat partners as well. Kiba's moveset is all about combined attacks along with Akamichi. He tends to combine fast beast-like agility and power of Akamichi with his own knowledge and ability as a ninja, making every fight he gets in effectively a 2-on-1. His signature techniques include the well-known Fang over Fang and his transformation jutsu, which he and Akamichi were able to mimic one another and strengthen their joint attacks. So what is Kiba's problem and why is he so low on this list? Well, it's pretty simple. He peaked incredibly early. When we were introduced to him, he was considered one of the strongest in the class and was even compared to that of Neji in terms of combat ability. However, outside of that, he really doesn't get all that much stronger and very quickly falls behind the rest of his other classmates. While he is strong physically, his techniques lack versatility. Throughout Naruto Shippuden, Kiba feels outclassed by his peers and is a major part of his development as a character. character in the show that he needed to constantly get stronger so that he doesn't fall further behind. It's a shame that that never really works out for him. Coming in at number 10 is the awkward artist and the newest addition to the group, Sai. Sai was introduced as Sasuke's replacement in Shippuden at the same time that Yamato temporarily took over Kakashi's responsibilities as leader of Team 7. Sai was raised without emotions due to his upbringing in the Roots, which were effectively an underground spy organization that works independently from the Hokage and the Anbu and reports directly and exclusively to Danzo. During this upbringing, he was ultimately trained in combat. However, the thing that makes the Roots so dangerous, and also what makes Sai so awkward, is that he was ultimately trained to not feel, or at the very least completely suppress his own emotions in favor of the mission. His training ultimately ended up with Sai and his older brother having to fight to the death at Danzo's orders. At this time, his brother revealed that he is sick and dying anyway, so they more or less faked a battle and Sai's brother would end up losing his life. This ends up being the emotional catalyst that sort of sends Sai into a mental spiral, being able to shut off his feelings and understanding of emotion. Due to this, after leaving the Roots, Sai ends up setting out to begin learning to connect with others in a way he never had before. Sai's unique ability is his Super Beast Scroll Jutsu that allows him to bring his ink drawings to life. In my opinion, this is one of the most versatile techniques in the series. He can draw a lion to fight, birds to fly and carry him and his allies around, or a snake or a mouse to infiltrate and gather information. He's stealthy, versatile, and a master of mid-range combat. Not to mention, due to his upbringing in the Roots, it's safe to say he's likely an expert in taijutsu and other assassination techniques. Sai's unique jutsu and elite training make him a useful asset to most teams. However, due to the particular nature of his jutsu outside of mid-range combat, he may find himself outmatched, and compared to others, he really doesn't have the all-out power to take on stronger enemies. Next at number 9 is Neji Hyuga, the prodigy of the Hyuga clan and the pride of the Side family, who in the end, through sacrifice and willpower, became a hero and legend of the Leaf Village as a whole. Neji had one of the most complex stories in all of Naruto. As a member of the branch family, Neji's life was shaped by the clan's strict traditions, which beyond limiting what he could say, do, feel, and learn, also left him with a mark on his forehead shared by all members of the branch family that marked him as lesser. All of this turned him into an incredibly determined person who poured his entire being into becoming strong enough to prove that his fate as a member of the Side family was not all he wanted and that people should respect his strength. But after his fight with Naruto during the Chunin exams, his opinion on the world began to change. He began to grow and open his heart more to the people around him who would grow and call him a friend. By Shippuden, he had grown into an incredibly strong and loyal shinobi who in the end was willing to lay down his life to protect those he loved. Neji is the Byakugan master of his generation. The Byakugan, being the ocular jutsu shared by those of the Hyuga clan, grants the user nearly 360-degree vision. On top of that, it allows them to basically activate X-ray vision that will allow them to see and pinpoint their foe's chakra points. This paired with Gentle Fist allows them to strike those chakra points and sever the connections to the chakra network, leaving limbs paralyzed, and on top of that, Neji was a master of the 8 trigrams techniques, including 64 palms, which is a relentless barrage that works to shut down opponents' chakra networks, rendering them unable to fight, as well as rotation, which is a defensive technique that creates a spinning chakra barrier around the user that defends against attacks. So as you can imagine, fighting Neji in close range would be an utter nightmare. All that being said, while the Byakugan is extremely powerful, as well as Neji's close range fighting abilities, unfortunately his fighting style ultimately lacks versatility, which would make it difficult for him to fight anybody who has powerful long or mid-range attacks. All that considered, it's not to say he wasn't smart enough to figure something out anyway. Next, at number 8 is Konoha's resident genius and the ultimate reluctant hero, Shikamaru. He tends to be lazy, laid back, and always inconvenienced by his duties. However, he hides a mind that is rivaled by very few. He starts out as the slacker who would rather watch clouds than fight, but by Shippuden, Shikamaru becomes an unrivaled tactician for the Leaf Village and an important diplomat in his own clan, not to mention his loyalty to his friends and drive to protect their village. The way he was able to come up with a plan to defeat Hidan on his own, ultimately avenging Asuma's death, and the role he played in the 4th Great Ninja War cement him as a leader of his peers and the village as a whole. Shikamaru's strength comes from a few places, one being his shadow possession, which allows Shikamaru to connect his shadow to his opponents, forcing them to mimic his movements, meaning he can just take control of his opponent's body, and on top of that, his move is not limited to one foe at a time. He can immobilize a group of enemies all at once. Next is his shadow strangle jutsu, which allows him to use his shadow and choke and immobilize his opponents. However, what gives him the majority of his strength is his brain and his tactical intelligence. Shikamaru is consistently able to predict enemy movement and quickly develop effective plans to finish missions and keep his allies safe. His intelligence is the very reason he's such a valuable politician to the Leaf, as well as being head of his own clan once he comes to Boruto. Shikamaru's genius IQ and teamwork make him an invaluable asset to the Konoha 13. While he doesn't have brute strength or flashy techniques, his ability to analyze and strategize make him dangerous. However, his reliance on shadow manipulation means he struggles against faster or more overwhelming opponents. On top of that, we know from Boruto that due to how busy being aide to Kakashi and Naruto, as well as being head of his own clan, keeps him, that his training kind of came to a halt not long after the Fourth Great Shinobi War. Meaning, even though he's undoubtedly smarter than he was then, he's ultimately not all that much stronger than he was at the end of Shippuden, which makes him really the only other member of the Konoha 13 who didn't get significantly stronger between Shippuden and Boruto, the only other one being Neji. However, he has a much better excuse. Next on this list is Shino. I legitimately believe that if scaled properly, Shino would be the most powerful character on this list. However, as stated at the start, I'll talk about it, but I won't count it, so he comes in at 7. Shino is the most mysterious member of the Konoha 13 and grew up in the Aburame clan. This clan is one where ninjas literally partner with insects, forming contracts with them in which the bugs feed off of their chakra, and in return, the bugs fight for them and follow their directions, making them a unique clan, seeing as their primary form of fighting, albeit jutsu, are primarily physical attacks as opposed to ninjutsu. Silent and stoic, Shino doesn't talk much, and he really was the quiet kid in class that you didn't want to mess with. In Shippuden, Shino steps up his game and shows just how terrifying his abilities can be through his fight with Tsurune, in which he shows his intelligence as well as fighting ability. Shino's power lies in his insects and strategic thinking. As mentioned, Shino, as well as his fellow Aburame clan, can allow insects to feed off of their chakra. In return, they will fight for them by attacking enemies by draining their chakra or swarming them, doing massive damage. He also has insect clone jutsu, which is just clone jutsu, however his clones are made up of his bugs, allowing him to confuse enemies. Beyond these abilities, he's also able to set traps and use his bugs for tracking, which actually gives him tracking abilities that rival, if not exceed, that of Kiba's dog nose and Hinata's Byakugan. If we're going to speak hypothetically, however, considering his bugs count as physical attacks and they feed off nullified chakra, there's an argument to make that scaled up, Shino could potentially solo Otsutsuki's, but I'll make another video to talk about character scaling. So for now, Shino's versatility, calm mind, and grossly effective bugs make him a dangerous opponent. He's excellent at long-range combat, and if you are an opponent that primarily relies on chakra, which is most ninja, you're probably going to have a hard time beating him. However, his bugs do have limits. They struggle against fire-based techniques, and despite working to fix his weaknesses in taijutsu, he's still pretty weak to fast, close-range fighters who can just simply outmaneuver him. Next at number 6 is Hinata Hyuga, the shy girl with a crush on Naruto, who ultimately grew into a powerful ninja. Same as Neji, she was born into the Hyuga clan, however she was born into the main branch, seeing as her father was head of the clan and her uncle and Neji's father was head of the side branch, destined to follow the rule, and in Neji's father's case, even fall on the sword of the main branch if that's what's required. Hinata was very shy and kind-hearted growing up, which made it hard for her to train and get stronger out of fear and general lack of confidence, which was only made worse by her father's constantly reinforced disappointment in her abilities. But Naruto's will and unwavering determination is what ultimately led her, as well as many others, to being able to have faith and become the ninjas that they wanted to be. By Shippuden, Hinata is no longer the timid girl on the sidelines. She demonstrates that through her bravery and willingness to sacrifice during the Pain arc, the War arc, the Last, and into Boruto. Many of Hinata's abilities are the same, or at least very similar to that of Neji, like the Byakugan and the 8 trigrams techniques. However, what sets her apart is her improved taijutsu ability, which makes her even more of a nightmare to fight in close range than her cousin Neji, but she also ends up mastering the gentle step twin lion fists, which is her most powerful technique, where she is effectively able to just channel chakra down into her fists to massively increase the power behind her attacks. However, despite how good she is in close range and how much power she can pack behind her twin lion fist, not to mention the support benefits that come with the Byakugan, she doesn't come close to Neji's intelligence, and has some heavy limits when compared to the heavy hitters on this list. Next up at number 5 is Choji Akamichi, who can always be found with food in hand. Choji is an incredibly underrated character. As the final member on this list from Team 10, as well as Inuzuka, it's safe to say that his power is nothing to scoff at. As a kid, Choji was teased a lot for his size, but due to his loyal friend Shikamaru and his sensei Asuma, he was ultimately able to find his own confidence and really grow into a powerful shinobi, and in effect effective leader of the Akamichi clan. In Shippuden, he goes from comic relief to one of the most dangerous bruisers in the Konoha 13, and by the war arc, Butterfly Mode Choji makes his official appearance. Choji's strength comes from the Akamichi clan's secret techniques. First up is expansion jutsu, which allows Choji to grow his body, which he can then use to crush opponents. He can also use partial expansion jutsu, which allows him to grow specific portions of his body for more pinpoint attacks, or it can allow him to turn his whole body into a wrecking ball. However, Choji's trump card is his butterfly mode. This mode allows Choji to convert his excess calories in his body to chakra, dramatically increasing his chakra reserves as well as fighting ability. It gives him insane power boost in battle. This move not only makes him more than strong enough to lead his clan, but it would also be enough for him to rival some Kage level shinobi in battle. Choji combines raw strength, durability, and a surprising speed boost in butterfly mode. When he fully powered up, he could crush opponents, but outside of that mode, he's not as versatile as the others. His jutsu can be predictable and he relies on massive chakra consumption to fight. Next up at number 4 is Rock Lee, the poster child for hard work and determination. He's unique on this list due to the fact that he was born without the ability to utilize ninjutsu or genjutsu. Lee focused 100% of his time and ability on taijutsu under Gai Sensei's guidance. Alongside Neji and Tenten, he turned his body into a literal weapon and set out to prove that talent means nothing as long as you work hard enough. Lee's fight against Gaara during the Chunin exams remains one of my personal favorite and one of Naruto's most iconic moments in the series, and does a great job of showing the length that Lee is willing to take his training and highlighting his will to succeed. As mentioned, however, Lee can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu, so all of his abilities are taijutsu based. He's able to tap into the 8 inner gates, which drastically increases his speed and power the more gates you open. However, the further you go, the more this technique destroys the body of the user, with the use of the 8th gate resulting in death. Now, he's only able to open up to the 6th gate, however that is more than enough to handle some of the tougher enemies he's faced and most of the other entrants on this list. However, without being able to open up all of the gates and due to his inability to use ninjutsu and genjutsu, he really doesn't stand a chance against the most powerful characters in this series. Lee is a blisteringly fast, insanely strong taijutsu god. With the gates open, he can even rival high-tier opponents, but outside of taijutsu he's limited, doesn't have chakra-based abilities or range, making him predictable for smarter enemies and unable to generate enough power to do damage without taking a ton of unnecessary damage himself. Number 3 is Sakura. She had one of the biggest power swings in the entirety of this series. She went from being more or less entirely useless in Classic to by the end of Shippuden and into Boruto, she is easily the next strongest in the village after our number 1 and 2 picks. She was constantly trying to get better in order to turn the tables and protect Naruto and Sasuke for once, instead of always needing to rely on them and others, and by the end, she has done exactly that. Sakura's abilities make her one of the most dangerous ninjas in the Great Nation. She combines her genius intellect with her sheer power and brilliance in medical ninjutsu. She has superhuman strength thanks to her chakra control. She's able to funnel chakra into her fist to make her punches powerful enough to punch through buildings, mountains, and opponents like they are absolutely nothing. As a student of Lady Tsunade, she also managed to become a master of medical ninjutsu, which allows her to not only heal near-fatal injuries and build antidotes for poisons, but medical ninjutsu can also be used offensively to target chakra points, and you can use your chakra control to turn your hand into a blade for offense, like we saw Kabuto use against Naruto. Not to mention, if you read the light novel, you'd know that she is virtually impervious to genjutsu and has trained her speed to rival that of 8 Gates Guy, making her one of the fastest characters in the entire series. If all of that wasn't enough to convince you she deserves the spot, she's also the user of the Byakugo seal, also known as the 100 Healing seal, which allows her to store massive amounts of chakra, which she can then use to constantly and nearly instantly heal herself from any wound from a paper cut to what should be fatal injury. That paired with Lady Katsuyu, her summon, who can split into an unknown number of smaller versions of itself that all have their own healing ability and the ability to communicate like a hive mind, allowing her to not only heal herself past the capabilities of 100 Healing seal, but it would also allow her to constantly heal a massive amount of people all at once while still keeping her mind on the enemy. And if that doesn't work, Lady Katsuyu can grow to an unknown size and be used offensively using her acid spit. So I'd say that despite having a rough start, by Boruto she's more than earned her spot in Konoha's top 3. Now I'm sure the final 2 will come as absolutely no surprise to anybody, but we have Sasuke in the 2 spot. Sasuke is Naruto's rival, and after his brother decimated his clan in the Uchiha massacre and his brother's eventual death, he became the last surviving Uchiha. His entire life revolves around taking revenge for his clan by becoming powerful enough to kill Itachi, his brother, the very person who committed the atrocity in the first place, as well as making horrible terrible decisions, because Sasuke tends to do that almost constantly. While he struggled for years with his darker side and the emotions surrounding the situation with his clan, Sasuke eventually grew into a ninja who didn't recognize his own daughter, but had near unrivaled power and was a loyal protector of the Leaf Village. Sasuke's power stems from his connection to the Uchiha clan, and he is a user of the Sharingan and Rinnegan, which individually have devastating abilities like Amaterasu, which allows him to burn anything with black flames that only he can extinguish. Although, through the introduction of the Otsutsuki, things kinda change because you can't use ninjutsu against them, but let's not talk about that right now. The Sharingan also, beyond increasing your genjutsu ability, once the Mangekyo is unlocked, there are usually semi-unique genjutsu and physical abilities that come with it. Not to mention the forbidden jutsu Izanagi and Izanami, which can each allow the user to manipulate reality at the cost of sight in one of their eyes. And with the Rinnegan, he basically has access to all of Pain's abilities, which is a lot, but the thing we see him use the most is space-time ninjutsu. This allows him to effectively open portals to other dimensions and manipulate space-time to swap places with things instantly, which he regularly uses to throw off opponents and gain an edge. He also has the ability as a double EMS user to summon his Susanoo, which is a massive suit of armor made from chakra that protects Sasuke and can tank pretty much anything that comes at it. It won't go away unless the user deactivates it themselves or they no longer have enough chakra to maintain the form. He's also a master of fire and lightning releases, which he can use on their own for devastating effect, or if he wants to pair them with his Susanoo, he can make them even more brutally destructive. Sasuke's versatility, genius, combat skills, and raw power make him almost unstoppable. He really doesn't have that much in the way of weaknesses, and he excels in all ranges of combat, and has a nearly impenetrable defense and a dojutsu ability that is only matched by chakra space gods. But again, we'll save them for another time. So to me at least, it makes sense that if anybody could rival Naruto and take the second spot on this list, it is Sasuke Uchiha. And of course, last but certainly not least is Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto's story is about overcoming insurmountable odds, loneliness, prejudice, and becoming the hero of the village to prove to everybody that their preconceived notions were wrong. And hard work, friendship, and an unshakable will is all one needs to change the world. From being the class clown and village nuisance to the savior of not only the Leaf Village, but the entire world, not to mention the 7th Hokage after Kakashi. Naruto's journey proves that not only is anything possible, but that stronger than any jutsu is the love and bonds you share with those around you. Naruto's abilities are unmatched due to his insane chakra reserve, being an Uzumaki as well as the host of the Nine Tails. He's able to take a normal jutsu that everybody can do, being the clone jutsu, and make it one of the most horrifying things to face. Not only can he use them for his training, spying, and infiltrating, doing chores, and fighting, he can make them seemingly unending number of them. Even if you can tell which one is which, what are you going to do when 1,000 Naruto start falling out of the trees with Rasengan? However, the more clones he makes, the less power and chakra he has to share amongst them, meaning the more clones he makes, the weaker him and the clones are. That being said, the very fact that he can make that many clones and they are as strong as they are really goes to say a lot about how much chakra Naruto actually has. And next, of course, is arguably his most famous jutsu, and that is the Rasengan. The Rasengan is basically just a ball of highly compressed chakra that is rotating at incredible speeds. Naruto is able to achieve this through mastering a change in chakra form. While this move is incredibly strong as is, it was originally created by Minato, the 4th Hokage, when he was trying to develop a move for Kushina that he modeled after the Tailed Beast bombs when he saw them for the first time fighting in the Second Great Shinobi War. This move is only the beginning. Like I said, the Rasengan is just a change in chakra form. However, he is then able to add a variety of changes in chakra nature to it. Through this, he develops the Wind-style Rasen Shuriken as well as several other elemental variations of the move that you see in the 4th Great Ninja War. But the Wind-style Rasen Shuriken is a projectile move that when it strikes its enemies explodes, and anybody caught in it will be struck by a near infinite number of individual strikes in the span of a few seconds that works at attacking your cell's ability to connect to chakra, basically making it so even if you are somehow lucky enough to survive, you likely will never be able to utilize chakra or jutsu again. He also is able to follow in Jiraiya's footsteps and actually surpass him in this regard and become a perfect Toad Sage, which allows him to tap into nature energy, buffing his moves, speed, durability, and overall power, which he can again take a step further and pair that with his Kurama Chakra mode, which allows him to fully tap into and control the Nine Tails power, making him capable of fighting off multiple tailed beasts at once, go toe-to-toe with the likes of Obito and Madara while in control of the Geto statue, and it comes with unrivaled sensory abilities as well. And although it may have been handed to them both, Naruto and Sasuke were imbued with the 6 past powers by Haruno Tomo in the war arc, because as reincarnations of Indra and Ashura, it was them who had to seal Kaguya. But this power gives Naruto further healing abilities for at least a brief time, which is what you see him use to save Guy after he fights Madara and opens the 8th gate. That'll do for my ranking of the Konoha 13. Whether you agree or disagree with my list, let me know in the comments below, and let me know what you'd change and why. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified when I post, and check out the other videos in my Naruto playlist. And with that, I will see you next time.